When my son Andrew was little, oftentimes he'd lose his toys, whether it was a ball or a truck, and he'd go looking under the furniture or in his room for him, and eventually he'd come to me and say, "Mommy, I can't find it." I'd always ask him, "Well, what are you looking for?" And he would usually say, "I don't know, I can't find it." It would make me laugh, but it also reminded me of times when I felt like I was looking for something, yet no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find it. And partly it was because I didn't know what I was looking for. Have you ever felt that way? In my book, A Confident Heart, we talk about this very struggle. In chapter 3, I share how I came to a place where I had almost everything I wanted, yet I still had this aching emptiness. I couldn't find what I was looking for. One day, God showed me it's because I was looking for unconditional love in all the wrong faces and in all the wrong places. Proverbs 19:22 tells us that what a man or woman desires is unfailing love. The word desire comes from the Hebrew word tava, which means to greatly long for, to deeply desire or crave. And did you know that unfailing love is mentioned 32 times in the Bible, but not once is it attributed to a person. It's only attributed to something that we can get from God. Only God's unfailing love will fill and fulfill those deep longings and empty places in our hearts. In fact, until God's love is enough, nothing else will be. But it's not easy to stop looking everywhere else and to everybody else, is it? It's almost as though we each have an empty jar, a lot like the Samaritan woman who we met at the well one day with Jesus. We each have our own jar we walk around with, holding it out to someone or something, hoping that they will fill us. Years ago, I saw a powerful picture of what this looks like, and I wanted to share it with you. So I went raiding my kids' toy boxes to find some objects that represent what we look to fill us and fulfill us. I found some little people, because from the time that we are kids, we look to people, whether it's our parents, friends, or teachers. As we get older, we look to bosses and boyfriends and ministry leaders and just anybody in our life who we want the approval of. Now, my husband saw me do this one time, and he said I had to get something a little bit more manly for our husband. So eventually, many of us long to get married. We want a man to choose us, to make us feel wanted and beautiful. And so we search for a manly man, hoping that he can be the one to satisfy our need for lasting love. And when people don't work, we look to what the world tells us we need, whether it's a new car or maybe a bigger house or even maybe some new furniture. We vie for positions. We look for recognition and the trophies of life, whether it's an award or a corner office or a plaque on our wall or a title on our resume or even an education. We work hard to get to higher places, hoping that they will make us feel valuable, whether it's a bigger bank account or a larger credit limit or a new outfit. We feel great. Maybe we fit in a smaller size and we find something new to wear that's trendy, and then we go to church and see somebody else has it on and we feel kind of ordinary. And a lot of times we look to food. Now, the most exciting thing I could find was plastic chips and corn, and that's not really what we tend to look for, but let's pretend it's cookies or ice cream, and we look to food to fill those empty places in our heart to comfort us. And then there's always chocolate. As you can see, our jars are full and our lives are full. Our schedules are full, our minds are full, our closets are full. And yet, like this jar, there are still so many empty places. Why? Because our hearts were created to be filled and fulfilled by God alone. The deepest thirst of our soul for security and confidence can only be satisfied by Him. We see this in the story of the Samaritan woman. Jesus wanted to help her see what she was looking for to fill her. And He helped her get honest about her life and her empty places so that He could fill them, because He knew that only then would she find the confidence she longed for in the power of His love, so that she could start living in the security of His promises. So what do? Well, first we need to ask God to show us what or who or where we're looking to for love, security, and confidence. And then we need to acknowledge that we've looked to the gifts instead of Him as the giver and put them back where they belong. And so I'm going to put them back in my gift box. Now, it's not always easy and it takes time. But eventually, we can put these gifts back in a place of priority in our life and yet not a place of preeminence. And by doing this, we make room for Jesus to fill our empty places. We see in the Bible with His words and His actions that He wants to fill us with His love and His assurance. And through living water, He does that. He speaks to our heart and says, I love you. You are significant. I choose you. You are accepted. You belong. You are forgiven, and you are set free by my love and my assurance. And as you can see, when we allow Him to pour His love and His promises into our hearts, there are no empty places. By doing this, we shift our dependence from the gifts to the giver, and we can thank Him for what we do have instead of always longing for what we don't have. Just like my son Andrew came to me, let's take time this week to go to our Heavenly Father and ask Him to help us find what we're looking for. As we do this, our hearts are going to become more and more confident through our relationship with Him. And that lasting security that we long for is going to come each time we bring the empty well of our hearts to Jesus and ask Him to fill us with the promise of His unfailing love.